Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this afternoon's topic, which is researching in Devon. We have a wonderful array of speakers for you this afternoon, and we're going to kick off with Elsa Churchill. So Elsa is the genealogist at the Society of Genealogists. She teaches regularly in the SOG's education programme, as well as at overseas events and conferences, focusing on genealogy before 1837. Over to you.
Well, thank you very much. I'd like to welcome you and all the speakers who are joining us in this collaboration between the Society of Genealogists, the South West Heritage Trust, the Box and Devon Family History Societies, and we'll also hope to be learning for all sorts of family history resources for Devon and to learn what we can about ancestors. And we're also having a contribution from A Vision of Britain Through Time to see how that might help you in understanding Devon as a county and its community. So I think I've got rather a lot to speak about, so I'm going to sort of speed through it rather quickly. I hope I'm not speaking too quickly for people. The Society of Genealogists is the oldest and largest genealogical member society in the UK, and we're seeking to create a working genealogical research hub concentrating on collecting resources relating on how you do your genealogy. Of course, we'll have textbooks, guides, journals, periodicals, what your ancestors did in their lives, their occupational records, anything appertaining to education, apprenticeship, military service, tax records, criminal records, poor law, newspapers, trade directories, ecclesiastical licenses, church court records, monumental inscriptions, tombstones, etc., etc., etc. We particularly like to see what research is done before, so we compile family histories and pedigrees, genealogy research notes and papers, and encourage people to write up their family history and deposit that material with us. But we also concentrate on bringing sources together relating from where your ancestors lived, particularly indexes, finding aids and copies and transcripts of records, and much more. So these subject areas can be found all over the library. We have a library of books, electronic and micromedia, both on and off the shelves, meaning you'll need to use not only our library catalogue SOGCAT, but also, as we're an affiliate library, the Family Search catalogue will indicate what records might be available to view at the premises in Wharf Road. We have our archive manuscript collections with research papers and notes, special collections and pedigrees and original records. And for those, we have on our website copies of our old paper lists in anticipation of a new collection catalogue coming on stream soon, we hope. But again, it does mean that things are not all in one place. And of course, we have digitised and put online a small proportion of the Society's collections with our digitised collections, including records, indexes, database, and even books from the library on SOG Explore. So in order to understand all the different places where things are, I do suggest looking at the library pages of the website, which will give you information on how to access our collections and visit the library if needed. It's not necessary to pre-book your visit, but if you are travelling a long distance and you'd like to reserve a library computer, it's a good idea to pre-book your visit, and all that information that you'll need are on the website. And of course, not all of the collections are kept on site, so you might need to order items in from off-site storage. And again, information about that is on the library pages of our website, which also links to the library catalogue, the digital online resources, archive finding aids, and again, guidance on how to use those with collection guides, etc. For those who can't personally visit the Society's premises in Wharf Road, the library pages also have information about our limited search copy service and guidance on employing a professional researcher if that's appropriate for you. With so much information in the library not on the open shelves, it's vital to use the catalogues to identify what you want, and there are also shortcuts via the search tabs on the website, which show yellow when you're using them. So if we begin with the library catalogue highlighted in yellow, that will be a good place to start. While you can take the direct link to the library catalogue to do more sophisticated, advanced and simple keyword searches of the catalogue, the search on this start pathway uses the catalogue's default browse by subjects, and a good way to start is just putting the name of a place where your ancestors come from to see what resources we might hold. Certainly genealogists know that most sources are associated with the localities and places. And by places, we usually mean the parishes where your ancestors lived, and we tend to group everything according to the pre-1974 county boundary changes. So we'll keep the pre-1974 county in catalogues and any finding aids that we keep, as that's largely what and where they were when our ancestors lived there. A typical county holding within our collection, and of course we have everything for all counties, not just Devon, will include published material, transcripts and indexes of records, as well as surrogate copies of original records, such as microfilms and microfiche. Generally, county-wide material for all of Devon will cover a whole county, such as county histories, pedigrees, genealogies, tax records, such as indexes to hearth tax, will indexes and finding aids, and I'll come specifically back to that because that's one of the strengths of the Society's collection when we're looking at Devon. We have local specific place material in Devon Local with about 800 items relating to places in the county, such as parish histories, rate books, local quarter sessions, borough records, apprentices and freemen, etc. Excluding parish registers, which is a separate category, we have for parish registers, we'll try and have copies, transcripts, indexes and finding aids. And I know since in SOGCAT there are over 2,000 I think 2,900 or so items relating to the parishes in the county of Devon. So an awful lot. That obviously there's not as many parishes as that, but certainly we may have several items relating to a particular place. We've got lots of transcriptions of monumental inscriptions from churchyards and cemeteries, and again I noted there were 215 specific items including in the catalogue relating to Devon, many of them published by the Devon Family History Society. All bound parish registers and monumental inscriptions formerly on the Devon shelves in our previous building are now scanned and available as searchable PDFs to view in the library, which is one of the ways we manage to downsize and move but stay in London at the same time. Our off-site store is where we'll keep things like directories, poll books, periodicals, which aren't used quite so frequently. So the first good place is to start with a name, and here, for example, the catalogue suggests there are 30 items for the parish of Ashburton. So start with the name of a parish, and the catalogue will tell you what we've got. So, for example, the catalogue lists all the registers for Ashburton, which might be bound transcripts, many published by local record societies or local family history societies. We may have a copy of the original registers that we obtained from the local record office on microfiche or microfilm. This will also include nonconformist chapels, etc. You may find that the parish you're interested in is covered by Boyd's Marriage Index, which includes over 80 parishes in Devon, approximately 40% of the county. We'll also have copies of the relevant Quaker digests, for example. The catalogue will tell you if it's on an England county shelf or if the item is stored off-site and needs to be ordered in by using the appropriate box number so we can bring it in. So as you can see, there may be bound transcripts which have a off-site store, but have a shelf marked DER or DIMI for monumental inscriptions. We've been scanning and creating PDFs of the bound registers. So if you want to order in the transcripts of the Ashburton christenings and marriages and burial registers, we could actually, when you order that, we'll let you know that we do actually have the scanned version of that book to view on the PCs in our library. In addition to library access to the major genealogy websites, Ancestry, Find My Past, etc., the Genealogist, My Heritage, the Society of Genealogists is also a Family Search partner affiliate library. The records that have been scanned and digitised by Family Search and listed in the Family Search catalogue can usually be viewed at the SOG. Increasingly, Family Search full text is making previously unindexed or minimally indexed items more accessible within the catalogue, viewable at the library, such as church records, land tax, manor court rolls relating to Ashburton, all of which can be viewed at the SOG. In addition to parish records and monumental inscriptions, we call local items, these for places within a county, such as local histories, local war biographies, parish chest records other than parish registers, church warden's accounts, settlements, certificates, vaccinations, a huge variety. And so it's very much a good local history library as well as genealogical source material. It's worth taking your search up beyond the specific place to think about things that might cover the whole county. And then we have what we call the Devon General subject headings in the library catalogue. These can be anything from almanacs, direct almanacs to World Wars One and Two. So anything that, like the guides to researching in the county, published genealogical bibliographies, listing useful sources, county histories, as I say, indexes to tax records, heraldic visitations, etc. So these tend to be things that cover the whole county. So, for example, G.W. Marshall's Genealogist Guide suggests there are narrative pedigrees for the same Ackland in Vivian's and Phillips' editions of the various visitations of the county of Devon. And of course, we'll have copies of those in the Society's library. You can search the library catalogue by surname to see if we have perhaps compiled single family history with us. We have thousands, well over 9,000 donated family histories, some extensive monographs, some small typescripts that might just have been shared within the family. All of these are listed in the library catalogue. And again, this is something we're currently listing because it's a space-saving exercise. So they're listed and being scanned in partnership with Family Search. And again, we'll probably find now that if you want to see a particular family history of a Devon family we might have deposited with us, that we'll actually give it to you as a scanned PDF to view on the computers in the library rather than bring out the book itself. And of course, the county is very well served by active and flourishing local record and family history societies. So periodicals for Devon do include the Devon Family Historian and local history and record societies, whether it's Devon Cornwall Notes and Gleanings, Notes and Queries, a Devon and Cornwall Record Society, the Devonshire Association for the Advancement of Science, Literature and the Arts, etc., etc. Again, a fair number of these. It's something we've always collected over the years. As I'm sure most Devon researchers know, on the 5th of May 1942, German aircraft bombed the Exeter Probate Registry, destroying the probate records of the Diocese of Bath and Wells and Exeter, i.e. wills for Somerset, Devon and parts of Cornwall. Since then, considerable effort has been made to locate copies, abstracts or listings of the lost material, and the Society of Genealogists has many such items in its collections and has contributed significantly to the Devon Wills Project, which I'm sure we'll hear about more from the Devon Family History Society. But because so many of our collections include many abstracts or transcripts of Devon wills created before the destruction of 1942, I thought you'd be interested to see and show some examples. Sir Mervyn Medlicott and David Hawkins created a working index of all the copies that we hold, but that was done over 40 years ago. And we've obtained more since then, and of course we've moved buildings at least 3 times since then. And while his list did include a list of all the places, files and collections that they identified as including useful probate material at the SOG, the little warning on our copy of the list that says locations given below are no longer correct is really an understatement. As I say, we don't have things like the Farrer room or the stamp room or the Tweedle room, and so when someone because this work has been added to the fantastic Devon Wills project, when someone says that we want to look at the particular file, I have to sort of go back to this working copy to see, right, where was it and where is it likely to be now? And additionally, the items referred to particular special collections were once on open access, and I'm sorry to say might have been subject to borrowing before they were put on closed access in 2000. So there were probably about 30 years for something to go missing after Hawkins and Medlicott listed it. But Medlicott's and Hawkins' index has been included in the Devon Wills project, and member Richard Grills has also identified many more items at the SOG and included several SOG collections within the Devon Wills project. So you'll quite often see citations from the sources of where the copy or the listing of the will might occur, referring to something at the Society of Genealogists. So, for example, when it refers to that there are some abstracts and copies of wills and inventories relating to the name Amory in the Amory file, that might be a little bit difficult to track down. And again, luckily, the catalogue reminds me that this is actually a book of abstracts of wills relating to the family that we have. That was relatively easy because it was a book and was listed in the book catalogue. There are a lot of references in the Devon's Will project to the Drake genealogy volumes, referring to an amazing, effectively 2 manuscript volumes, there's 2 almost scrapbooks of Drake genealogy donated to the Society in 1948 by F. Gunter, the compiler of the 2 volumes, though it's not necessarily apparent within the 2 volumes. Sorry, Gunter donated it, but the compiler was Dr. Henry Holman Drake, 1820 to 1905, a schoolmaster by profession, mostly in St Austell. He was the son of John Peel Drake and an artist and inventor. And indeed, there's a huge amount of quite beautiful illustrations, as well as his notes and abstracts on Devon families, not just Drake, but lots of other families that might be connected, and miscellaneous notes relating to the county. Remarkable piece of editing to get it into the Devon Wills project, and luckily Richard has identified some of the foliation. So, for example, you'll find within there abstracts of wills from the probate registries at Exeter. Again, maybe the only indication of what was in that document before it was destroyed. And similar relates to this work of notes relating to the Bower family. Again, they abstracted lots of records relating to the name, but not just Bower wills from the Devon courts, but other families that married into them. The document collection of miscellaneous manuscript research notes, again, is vast. 44,000 surnames represented in Devon. Many files that include Devon wills have been identified by Mervyn and Medlicott. They're in the Devon Will Project. So, for example, when it tells us that there is a will relating to Humphrey Braund, I thought Janet will know about Humphrey Braund of Black Torrington in 1631. That's in the Braund document collection file, and you'd have to shuffle through the file to actually find it. And again, that's the typical abstract that someone made of the wills prior to their destruction. The same for the Callard document collection. That has an abstract of a will of John Callard of Burrington, a shoemaker, approved in 1808 in the Archdeaconry of Barnstaple. Some particular Devon will collections from the Society are online on our website via SOG Explore for our members, but not individually listing the huge numbers of wills in the document collection, though we are starting to index those, and there are a few indexed on documents online. It doesn't include the Drake genealogy, for example. Medlicott and Hawking's index to wills, Devon wills, is online on SOG. Data online, as is Cliffs Webb's index to the Fothergill collection of abstracts of wills, which I think is also in the Devon Will project. I don't think the Charles Tucker's abstracts of Devon wills has been added to the Devon Will project yet. That's something we've only just sort of sorted out. I'd have to check that, I'm not sure. So moving from the digital to continue onto our manuscript archives, and just to finish up, there are about 150 boxes of the topographical place papers and a few fiche items from the topographical collections. Again, you can find the link to the archive finding aids that list the items in the topographical boxes via the library pages of our website. By topographical, we mean sort of arranging it by place rather than surname. And these additions to the topographical documents used to be listed in the Genealogist magazine, and they may have come from donations or clearances of solicitors' deed boxes via the British Record Association, which acts as clearinghouses for such dispersals. Well, from those, we did eventually make a sort of a paper list of the of what was in each box, a sort of first tranche description, not really, I think, meeting good archival description or standards, but using these paper lists, our archivists can use this as a basis to improve the catalogue entry in our new archive catalogue that we're working on behind the scenes. However, it does, again, it's another sort of miscellany lucky dip of the kind that you might find in the boxes, and so that's what they kind of look like. And so here within there, for the in the Buckland Brewer folder, there is a copy of a parish apprenticeship from 1771, where the church wardens of Buckland Brewer are apprenticing the poor child Elizabeth Taylor, aged about 8, to Robert Curtis the younger, until she reaches the age of 21 or the day of her marriage, apprenticed in the art of housewifery. Yes, I did spot the spelling mistake in the listing that misspelt Buckland Brewer. I hope I can get that corrected. And again, within there, in the Dartmouth, actually, when you look at it, it relates to a marriage settlement where they were arranging the transfer of some property in Dartmouth. So again, there's very much a lucky dip of some very unusual things that have just ended up at the Society more by happenstance than anything else. We have a large archive of manuscript pedigrees deposited in the archives here over the years. There's well over 9,000 of those, with about 20,000 sheets. And as part of our what we call the rolled pedigree project to inventory, scan and digitize and index these pedigrees, we have a large spreadsheet listing them, and again that spreadsheet is available through the links to the archive finding aids from the library pages of the website. About 500 of the 9,000 pedigrees have actually also been uploaded and added to SOG Explore. However, they've all been scanned. We've finished the indexing and abstracting of them and creating GEDCOM files from them up to the letter T, and we're making them manageable and navigable so that you can actually find your way through some of the large pedigrees. But again, this does also show that we have a pedigree for the family of Ackland, of Colum John, what looks like a 3-page pedigree, sorry, 4-page pedigree of the Ackland pedigree, and say this has been digitized and indexed and available on SOG Explore. And there you can see the pedigrees have been indexed, and you can click on that, and that should lead you to tree search to make them navigable and work your way through them. It's a bit buggy at the moment. It's still a bit in beta test, but again, it's a remarkable way of making our pedigree collection available. SOG Explore is where we put digitized items from the library and collections online for our members. And it's possible that the library catalogue will indicate if a book, for example, has been digitized and put online. And then you can, if you're a member, you can sign in to the members portal and search SOG Explore. You can do searches for what collections relate to Devon. I think there are over 100 particular data sets relating to Devon particularly, but there's also, you'll find Devonians in all of the sort of national collections, whether it's for the Bank of England Wills, the Teachers Registration Council, the Customs and Excise personnel. Of course, these are some of the records that are held at the Society of Genealogists have digitized and put online. You can search across it by name and various categories to drill down into what it is you want. But I have listed here on there some of the expressly Devon collections, a bit small print, but of course you'll get a copy of these slides as part of the handouts, as well as some of the digitized Devon wills from the collection. We have some Devon poll books, out of print books, such as editions of various visitations, birth, deaths and marriage extracts from Devon newspapers, and a surprising amount of Devon parish registers extracted as part of the pilot project to see whether we can digitize these items. So surprisingly, I've managed to keep within the 25 minutes allotted to me to describe what it is. I'll stop sharing there, but please do have a look at the website and the catalogue and see what there is for your Devon interests. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Dr. Janet Few. Janet is an experienced family, social and community historian. She's written several books which are of great interest to genealogists, and she also now writes historical fiction. As you see, she's here today on behalf of the Devon Family History Society. Welcome, Janet.
Thank you very much. So yes, a little bit about Devon Family History Society and what we can offer you. Devon Family History Society is now a charitable incorporated organisation. It was formed in 1976. It's one of the largest family history societies in the UK. And it's a member of the Family History Federation, which is an umbrella organisation with many societies throughout the world, in fact. And contact with other societies, of course, encourage us to do things together. And we often work with other organisations really to our mutual benefit. It's a large county, and there's some debate as to exactly how many parishes, but certainly over 420 historical parishes, and then a number more that are more recent. And it has the island of Lundy as part of its parishes. And we have a very beautiful and geologically diverse county, which also has quite a diverse history as well. What you're looking at there is the various Devon deaneries. So then, what do we do? Well, we've got two aims, really. First of all, to help people who actually live in Devon to trace their family history, but also to assist people living anywhere in the world who have roots in Devon. And our fundamental purpose is to promote the study of genealogy, history, particularly of Devon families and places, of course, and to try to educate the public through advice, instruction, and also to encourage the preservation and transcription of relevant documents and records, again, obviously, particularly concentrating on Devon. Devon has a very interesting religious history with a strong element of several strands of Methodism. And again, we focus on that too. But we try and educate, preserve, and encourage in a number of different ways. One of those ways is through our website, www.devonfhs.org.uk, which has an absolute wealth of information on it. Some material is free to all, and I've put the drop-down menu to highlight that there as to what you would get. So you will get background information for free, you will get parish maps, you get indexes to monumental inscriptions. Many churchyards and civil cemeteries have been covered. You do get access to the Devon Wills project, which Elsa's already mentioned, where we're trying to at least list the existence of wills where the originals have since been destroyed. There is a whole lot more behind the members' paywall. So if you want to look at what's on our members area, well, there is over 3.5 million different records on there available to you as a member. And you can use the members area to manage your membership. You can also upload your members' interests. And as this meeting's been going on, people have been putting various surname interests in the chat. Well, you could upload all those on the members' interest section of the website. And you could also, of course, look for other people with common interests. We include in our members area browsable images of many parish registers that are not available online anywhere else. And that's largely thanks to the South West Heritage Trust. Also there you'll find audio recordings of many of our talks. You'll find the speakers' handouts. You've got back copies of our journal and also some longer articles that were too much to put in the journal. We didn't know quite what else to do with them, so they're there as well. And although the monumental inscriptions indexes are free to everybody, the photographs are within the members' area. There are also photographs of almost all the, certainly the Church of England churches. There are other Devon documents, there are transcripts, there are maps. We offer a number of discounts and special offers, which you can access via the members area. And this material is being added to on pretty much a weekly basis. We have a journal which can be sent to you either by post or you can acquire it digitally. Every quarter, you get 60 or so pages with articles full of background information about the lives and times of particular Devon families, maybe local history, social history, occupations, and so on. And we also try and keep our members informed about other developments in the world of family history. There is a sample copy free on the public part of the website if you want to see the sort of thing that you might find there. Pre-COVID, we used to have 4 monthly meetings in 4 specific Devon locations. Devon is a physically large county with a very poor transport and infrastructure. There is a rather strange phenomenon in that people from the north of the county will travel south for meetings, but clearly it must be further to go the other way because people don't travel from the south of the county to the north. We were, we believe, the first society to take our meetings online right in the beginning of lockdown in April, or certainly April 2020. We were online with our meetings, and we currently have 3 main presentations each month. We vary the day and the time to try and suit different time zones and people who can't do a Tuesday or can't do a Thursday. We also have small group discussions, and for next year, these are going to take the form of a variety of topics. We're going to have discussions on genealogical software, on DNA. We're going to look at specific areas of Devon. We're going to try and break down a few brick walls. There are other little sessions that will be about specific occupations, or there will be some commercial organisations coming to tell us what they can offer us. We haven't got rid of face-to-face meetings altogether. We know people value those, but of course they are very expensive in terms of resources because you perhaps only reach maybe 5% of your membership, because Devon has probably, apart from Cornwall, probably has a county with the most immigration. A very large percentage of our members don't live in Britain, let alone Devon. So face-to-face meetings tend to serve quite a small proportion of our members. The South Devon group that used to exist has restarted their own monthly face-to-face meetings, often using their own members as speakers. And we work in partnership, particularly with local history societies, to provide roughly about 3 face-to-face one-day events each year, which makes it more worthwhile for people at a greater distance to travel to those particular days. And that model of working with a local history society has worked extremely well. And it also enables us to reach all different parts of the particular county. Next year is our 50th birthday, and we are planning a residential conference. So that is another opportunity to meet face to face. We try to advertise Devon Family History Society around the country. So you may be able to say hello to us and get some advice if you live elsewhere. In the last few months, we've been to 5 different counties apart from Devon. So we've been to Malvern, Poole, Oxford, Bridgerall in Cornwall, and also Kempton Park. So here's some of our staff, as it were, volunteer staff, I should hasten to add, interacting with members from out of county. We run help desks mainly in Devon locations, as well as these fairs that we attend, and often we're asked to appear at a library or an archive and offer help. But we also offer help virtually via our headquarters, and our headquarters are currently at Tree House in Exeter, where you will find an absolute wealth of expertise. The headquarters are a service point for Devon Heritage Centre, so we've got all the parish registers on microfiche. We've also got the Inland Revenue Wills, 1812 to 1857. We are a Family Search affiliate library, so like the SOG, if you go on Family Search and you find that the image is only available in a Family Search library, we've got it. You can come and look at it there. And we have access to the subscription sites, Ancestry, Find My Past, The Genealogist, the British Newspaper Library, and so on. We have a physical library as well, with books, with folders, with family histories in, family trees, folders and boxes relating to particular parishes, and all sorts of indexes, as well as an extensive Methodist and rare Bible Christian book and record collection. If you're not familiar with the Bible Christians, they are a Methodist offshoot, for want of a better word, particularly prominent in Devon and Cornwall. So come and see us and get the expert advice. Those are currently our opening days. There is sometimes flexibility in that by prior arrangement, particularly if you're coming from a great distance. Do keep an eye on our website, because we are looking to move from that particular location. So if you're listening to this as a recording, then please make sure that's where we still are, and you can find that out on our website. You can email us and put in a virtual inquiry for some assistance. We do ask that some small sum of money changes hands in return for that, but that there is a possibility you don't actually have to turn up in Exeter to access that help. We are on social media. We've got an active Facebook forum with over 3,000 members who, of course, aren't all paid up members of Devon Family History Society. We wish they were, but sadly they're not. We're also on Blue Sky, and we've still got a residual presence on X, but we are using Blue Sky in preference to that. We have a large number of ongoing projects. We're lucky enough to have very high quality scanning equipment, which has enabled us to digitize and make available a wide range of documents, often the more obscure ones that are absolute gold dust to us as researchers, but which aren't really economical for the commercial organizations like Find My Past and so on to take up. So we really try to do that as much as our volunteer strength will allow us. Now, many of the Devon Parish Registers and other related documents are on Find My Past, but as I've already mentioned, there are additional registers in the members area. And I should say, because I don't think it really belongs to any of today's speakers, but it needs mentioning, that Genuki is particularly good for Devon. There's a lot of material relating to different parishes on Genuki, and there is also an active online parish clerk system in position in Devon, whereby volunteers will ask questions, answer questions, try and lead you to resources. They will have indexes. Like all these things, some of them have got more information for you than others, but there are online parish clerks for almost a large majority of Devon parishes, and you can access those via the Genuki website. We also have an Acorn Club, which is designed for younger people trying to encourage the next generation of genealogists. We arrange activities with schools and youth groups. There is material on our website and also in our journal. Some of that would be relevant to young people who are outside Devon and don't have necessarily Devon interests. Finally, we have, or almost finally, we have a shop, and you can use that to purchase digital downloads or paper copies of our many indexes and transcripts. We also have a very active second-hand book selling program. So there's all sorts of gems there that you might be able to pick up at bargain prices. So in case I haven't convinced you already, here are some of the benefits of membership. Our very active regular Zoom meeting program, our face-to-face meetings, our quarterly magazine, the research centre, the absolute wealth of expert local knowledge. Our meetings, we're very informal at our talks. we allow for a lot of discussion before and after the main speaker. Sometimes we're still chatting and answering questions an hour and a half after the speaker's finished and gone. So there's plenty of opportunity to tap into that expert local knowledge. We have the projects and publications. We have the Acorn Club, and the website, amongst many other things, has those parish register images, the discounts, the surname search, put your surnames in, who's researching the same family, as well as the shop. There's our current membership rates, or the membership rates which will still be in place for 2026. So in fact, e-membership is a really good deal there, as is paper journal membership, of course, but particularly the e-membership is very competitive. There are some contact details. I would always advise you to start with the website, because that will be more up to date than this video might be in the future, and get in touch with us if you think we can help in any way. And that is the end.
Thank you very much, Janet, for a very comprehensive and concise view of the Devon Family History Society. Our next speaker is Brian Carpenter. Brian has worked for the Devon Archives and Local Studies Service as an archivist since 1991 and has been the service's community engagement lead since 2011. Welcome, Brian.
Thank you very much, Cheryl. And as you said, we've got 3 speakers from the Devon Heritage Centre today. Firstly, myself, and then my colleague Jan Wood, who's another member of the archive team here, will be talking about the range of sources available in the centre. And then following Jan, my other colleague Rachel Ponting, who's our archive researcher, who'll be talking about the way the research service runs that we offer for people who aren't able to visit us. But I'll mainly be talking about how the centre's public search room runs with regard to opening hours, booking, registration, and so on, and also the resources that we have available in other parts of the county. As we've heard already today, Devon is a large county with a very large number of parishes in it, and so we have to have availability of records around the county. So to start with, here's a picture of our premises. We're in a shared building called Greatmore House, which is on the eastern outskirts of Exeter. We benefited from a period when the Heritage Lottery Fund was being very generous to local archives to update their facilities in the late 90s and early 2000s. And prior to that, we'd been in very inadequate facilities in the centre of Exeter. And so we were looking for somewhere better to store the records and make them available for a long time. We received a grant of over £3 million from the Heritage Lottery Fund in 2001 to build a new record office, as it was at that time, within what was an existing building, which prior to us moving into it was a warehouse owned by British Telecom, which is why the building still has yellow and blue on the outside, because those were the corporate colours of British Telecom at the time. The building was owned by them, and before we took it over. So we moved into Greatmore House in 2005. And the great advantage of that was that it meant that we could have all our records under one roof, where previously they'd been stored in 2 different locations. And we were also able to gain better public access areas to the records. As you'll see, there's some information on the slides about when we're open to the public. We used to be open 5 days a week, but it's gradually been reduced over the years due to reductions in staffing and alterations to arrangements around the pandemic. But we're open 3 days a week, Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday, between 10 o'clock and 5 o'clock. and currently 4 Saturdays per year where we try and have both public access to records, but also various additional events going on, such as workshops presented by our conservation staff. We're doing an exhibition of maps in November, and that's all part of developing enhanced services on Saturdays for people who can't make it in during the week. There's also some information there about the North Devon Record Office in Barnstaple and the archive service that we offer for Torbay, based at Tor Abbey in Torquay, and I'll say a little bit more about those as I go along. This is the reception area, which is the first place that people who come into the Heritage Centre will see, and that's where you register to use the Heritage Centre. We require some official proof of identity, which has your name and address on, which is a standard requirement in, I think, pretty well all public archives. And something else which I should have said about our overall arrangements is that we're part of a trust with the Archive Service in Somerset, and also museums in Somerset, and the Historic Environment Service in Somerset, which is essentially the archaeology service. And so when you've registered and produced some proof of identity, we issue you with a reader's ticket, which is valid at the Heritage Centre in Exeter, where we are, the North Devon Record Office in Barnstaple, and at the Somerset Heritage Centre in Taunton. And those reader's tickets are valid for 4 years. Reception staff, there are normally 2 people working in reception in rotation, and they sell publications, also sell permits to take photographs, again in common with most local archives. We require people to buy permits to take photographs, and those can either be bought daily, which most people do, or weekly, or annually. Daily photo permits cost £10, weekly ones cost £22, and annual ones cost £130. But for that, you can take as many photographs of documents as you want to do during the day, and it's increasingly the case that people will look at, for example, large volumes of records and take photographs of all the pages in the volume, and then use those photographs separately for their own use, and so that's an example of the way in which the way people use records has developed and changed over the years, from the days when special arrangements had to be made to photograph documents, and we were doing, in the majority of cases, photocopying documents rather than photographing them. And so now, when virtually everybody has a phone with a camera on them, that is something that's changed about the way in which people access records and the way in which we provide for that. Moving on, once you've registered, you will go into our public search room, which, as you can see from the slide, is a very large and extremely well-equipped room, and way better than what we had before we moved to Greatmore House. And in the search room, you'll come across the sort of standard equipment and resources that you will find in the majority of local archives. So we've got space for probably about 40 researchers at any one time, although with the way we work now, we don't generally have that many people in on any one day, but there's space for people to use original documents, microfilm readers and reader printers. Those are much less heavily used than they used to be because of the way in which the type of sources that people used to look at on microfilm and microfiche have migrated online. It used to be the case that we would have well, probably up to 20 or more people each day looking at microfilms of parish registers and other sources. These days, there are comparatively few people doing that because people either access our parish registers, which are on Find My Past, so they can access those at home or in the search room, where in common with many other libraries and the Devon Family History Society, as we heard from Janet. That site is available free of charge, as is Ancestry and the British Newspaper Archive, and we also have access to online catalogues of records held both with us, which I'll go on to talk about a little bit, and elsewhere, such as the National Archives Discovery catalogue, and a range of other reference sites. Moving on, one of the features I like showing people when I do in-person tours of the office is document storage areas, which are the areas behind the scenes which you wouldn't normally see when you use the office as a researcher. And this is well, these are examples of two of our strong rooms, and that's out of 10 strong rooms in total, and then there are two more on each of our strong room floors, which are occupied by the Met Office archives with which we share the building. Something I possibly should have said at the start is that when we moved to Great Moor House, we were the Devon Record Office, as we were traditionally known, and many people still refer to us and think of us as the Devon Record Office. But between 2012 and 2014, we amalgamated with the West Country Studies Library, which was a library that we used to share premises with in central Exeter, and which specialised and continues to in printed and published material. So we now have both what you might think of as the traditional types of records that you find in local archives, so parish records, records of local authorities, records of the major families of the county, and also a wide range of printed and published material. So that can range from newspapers to all kinds of books about local history, including novels, and also a lot of different photographs and illustrations that are in the West Country Studies Library collection. So that's when we became known as the Devon Heritage Centre, as opposed to just being the Devon Record Officers we were before 2005. Then moving on, this is the front page of our online catalogue, and this is the best way to search for records that we hold if you're doing so remotely. The best way to find it is to go via the website of the South West Heritage Trust, which is at www.swheritage.org.uk, and then put whatever search term you want to into the online catalogue, whether that be a particular name or parish, because in the majority of cases the archive collections we hold are indexed by parish, or any one of, well, any subject you like, and then you'll get a series of references to records that we hold, and in some cases records held elsewhere, at the North Devon Record Office, and then you can either arrange to come in and see them at the centre, or contact us about us doing research in the records, or supplying you with digital photographs of the records. And it's important to remember that not everything we hold is is referred to on the online catalogue. In common with most archives, we're engaged in a long-term project to enter hard copy paper catalogues into our online catalogue. So it's also worthwhile to consult finding aids in the search room if you have the opportunity to visit us. And if you don't, that's something that we can do for you. On the left-hand side, you have a picture of our main indexes in the search room, and there's a personal names index, subject index, and a place names index, and those refer to a series of catalogues which are also in the search room, which are paper catalogues of records that were built up over the decades since the Record Office was originally founded in the early 1950s. And as I say, we're gradually adding those to the online catalogue. So it's always worth supplementing searches in the online catalogue with searches in the record when the catalogues indexes in the search room, which you can do yourself if you're able to visit, or we can do for you as part of our remote inquiry service. If you want to use the search room, we prefer you to book a visit in advance, and that's something that you do via the South West Heritage Trust website again. It's a reasonably straightforward process. You click on booking on the screen I'm showing, and that takes you into Eventbrite, where you register to come in on a particular day or time. We generally take bookings either for a morning session, which is 10 until 1, or afternoon session, which is 2 until 5. Although if there's availability, you can book 2 sessions on the same day. And it's also important to know that probably in the majority of cases, we can accommodate people who just come in and haven't booked in advance. And another aspect of the booking system is that well, it's not an absolute requirement, but we prefer you to reserve the documents that you want to look at in advance, and you can do that through the booking screen, and you can order up to, or make up to 4 orders per session. But that doesn't necessarily mean that that's only 4 documents, because in some cases you'd be ordering a series of documents from a particular collection, or perhaps you may have a series of references which refers to a series of bundles of documents or a series of separate volumes. So it's not necessarily 4 documents, but it's 4 separate orders. And it's also possible to, if you're working in the search room, to order further items when you're actually with us. And to finish, I said I'd talk about records held elsewhere. Well, the main branch office that we have is the North Devon Record Office, which is in Barnstaple Library, which was opened in the late 1980s to make access easier for people who live in the north of the county. And the North Devon Record Office has original records for parishes in Barnstaple and the other major towns in North Devon, Bideford, Ilfracombe, and others, and also rural parishes in the North Devon area. And they also have microfilm of records that we hold in Exeter, and access to the online sites that I've mentioned. North Devon Record Office is open from Wednesday to Friday each week, and the booking system operates in the same way as ours does in Exeter via the South West Heritage Trust website. And then finally, we have a separate service which operates at Tor Abbey in Torquay, and this is a very nice aerial picture of Tor Abbey. It's not always as nice as that, but it is an absolutely wonderful and in many ways unique building near the sea in Torquay. And we've developed a service over recent years where I can take original records to Torquay for people to use there. And this is enhancing the service for people who live mainly in the Torbay and South Devon area, and means that they don't have to travel to Exeter to use records. That's open on 4 separate days per year, usually on Thursdays, and quarterly in March, June, September, and December, and further information about that is available on the South West Heritage Trust website, and booking for that is usually done direct with me, as I'm the person who takes records down there. So that's a general overview of the way in which the services work and where they're located. In a minute, I'll hand over to my colleague Jan, who's going to talk more specifically about the particular records that we hold, and then Rachel will talk about the research service. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that, Brian. Our next speaker is Jan Wood. Jan worked as a researcher for the Devon service before qualifying as an archivist at Liverpool University and returning to Devon to work. Welcome, Jan.
Okay, hi. I'm going to be following on from what Brian spoke about in terms of the archives of collections in Devon. As we've already mentioned, because Devon's so large, there's 3 archive offices with their own separate collections, and the South West Heritage Trust manages the Devon Heritage Centre. In other words, the main headquarters of what we call these days the Devon Archives and Local Studies Service, and also the branch office up at North Devon Record Office, which has been a branch of ours since 1988, when it was founded. Now, the Plymouth Archives also used to be one of our branches up to 1998, when Plymouth became a unitary authority, but it became independent and managed by Plymouth Council, and Alan will be talking about them and their collections rather than me. But remember that because there are 3 offices, the records for Devon are split between those 3 archives. If it comes when you're talking about original records. Devon Archives and Local Studies at Exeter, that is in the Devon Heritage Centre, also cares for the former West Country Studies Library collection, which Brian mentioned. It was formerly housed in Castle Street, Exeter, and then when Devon County Council stopped managing libraries, it was moved between 2012 and 2014 to come under our management, and is housed now at the Devon Heritage Centre. We sometimes call it the Local Studies Library Collection, and sometimes we call it West Country Studies Library still, because that's what it was formerly called. North Devon Record Office shares the same floor of the library building in Barnstaple with a North Devon Local Studies Library, now named North Devon Studies, and that's managed by Libraries Unlimited, which is a charitable trust separate to us, and also on the same floor is the private library named the North Devon Athenaeum. So they tend to work fairly closely together, even though they're run by separate organisations. I'll just now start talking about the types of archive collections held. And I should mention that even though I've got no PowerPoint presentation to show you, I have prepared some fairly comprehensive notes, which will be coming to you in written form after the meeting. So all 3 archive repositories hold Church of England parish records, nonconformist church and chapel records, and those of local authorities, borough, city, district and parish council records, records of hospitals and asylums, of schools, mainly what would you call non-private schools, state schools, or government-run schools perhaps, family and estate records, huge numbers of those collections, some large, some quite small, solicitors' records, auctioneers and estate agents' records, prison records, poor law unions, charitable institutions' records, clubs and societies, collections of copy wills, electoral registers, shipping, railways, transport, small family, genealogical and research collections. So a huge variety now, unlike in Australia, for example, and the US, where records which are not government-based records tend to be held in historic libraries. In England and also obviously in Devon, those records all tend to be held in county archives or in branches of county archives. So it's a different system over here. We have a much wider range of records than perhaps a state archive in Australia, for example. Usually the records have been deposited in the archive office, which covers their area of origin, so that North Devon records, which tend to be from parishes in the Archdeaconry of Barnstaple, but Brian did mention some of the main centres for which records are kept there. There's a few extra parishes which wanted to take their records to North Devon because it was closer to Barnstaple and Exeter. But generally speaking, you can find out where records from particular parishes are deposited. And or else in some cases, the records have come from another origin but relate to North Devon. For example, they may have come from the solicitors in London or something like that. And if they relate entirely to North Devon, they go to North Devon Record Office. Whereas if they're more general and maybe cover the whole county or parts of the county, they tend to be then deposited in the main archives, which is in Devon Heritage Centre. Devon Heritage Centre's collecting area covers the largest part of the county of Devon, as well as Exeter and Torbay, which includes Torquay. And it also holds Devon-wide collections, such as the following: the Church of England Diocese of Exeter collection, the Devon County Council collection, the Devon County Quarter Sessions collection. Quarter Sessions preceded the Devon County Council in the management of the county, as well as being responsible for criminal courts. So we hold all of those. They're not split up, and the North Devon and Plymouth records in those collections are still kept with us. Also, if we get in a big family and estate collection like the Duke of Bedford's collection, or the Earl of Devon's collection, or the Fortescue of Castle Hill collection, they're all three big estates, big estate holding families in Devon. They're not split up between the offices. They're all held with us if they tend to cover more than one part of Devon. And Brian's already shown you the online catalogue and the Joint Online Archive Catalogue web page, which he showed you. And I will send you a direct link to that as well, an email link, so that if you wanted to go straight to the catalogue, you could. It includes most but not all of the collections that we hold here and held in North Devon Record Office. And he did explain that we had some paper catalogues as well, which aren't necessarily on the main catalogue. Many of those collections catalogued on paper between 1946, when the first East Devon Record Office was opened, which was earlier than the County Record Office, and up to 1989 were all catalogued on paper. And so these have been added to the computerised catalogue through various projects and released onto the online catalogue for you to see, with a sizable number being added during the COVID-19 lockdown period, which gave us a real opportunity to add those which we didn't have time to add before. And there's a couple of staff members still carrying this on because there's still more paper catalogues, some of which need recataloguing before the catalogue structures are good enough to actually put online, because some of the collections had such old-fashioned, poorly listed and referenced catalogues that we've had to recatalogue them, renumber them before we can actually put them onto a modern day computerized database. Other collections which we haven't fully catalogued but can go on to the online catalogue appear only at collection level because they're not catalogued in full, but we try to ensure that their collection level descriptions are as detailed as we could possibly make them. And we spend quite a lot of effort trying to do that, because we know that with our staff numbers, it's very difficult these days to find time to tackle the backlog of catalogues. I should mention a little bit about what the local studies collections hold, although we have a one-day-a-week librarian who looks after that. But of course, they're actually accessible through our own search room, and the production of those is managed by our search room staff, our archive search room staff, so that we do have a lot to do with those collections, even though we're not responsible for for taking them in or for cataloguing them ourselves. We have printed books, obviously, lots and lots of maps and plans, particularly printed ones. In fact, our largest printed plans collection is actually in the local studies collection. Illustrations, a huge number of illustrations, more than we have in the archives. Prints and drawings, engravings, sketches, photographs. And we have, and the local studies collection also includes some special collections, which are probably more archival than anything in lots of cases, but they tend to often have been deposited by previous researchers. But they came into the West Country Studies Library in the days when it was totally separate organisation, and therefore have generally stayed in their collections. Okay, now I just wanted to talk a little bit about, as much as I can, about the different types of records we hold, to give you an idea of how they're made available. Just keeping an eye on time. I don't think it's 3:09. Yeah, okay. Church of England parish records. They're all recorded on the online archive catalogue, those at Devon Heritage Centre and North Devon Record Office. They're mostly deposited by clergy, church wardens and parish administrators, held on official transfer, and their long-time care and preservation and the fact that they have to be deposited with us is ensured by a 1978 Government Act, which was passed by the Church of England, and parish records with entries older than 150 years are required to be deposited with us, and this can be enforced. But of course, parish records include more than parish registers, lots of other types of records recording clergy and their parishioners, including church wardens' accounts, vestry books, incumbents' records, tithe records, etc. Overseers of the poor records, which are very popular. And they're not all indexed. They may be catalogued. Some of them aren't catalogued, but may be described in detail on the collection level description. There's also the parish registers are all fully listed. When we get in new parish registers, we always list them as quickly as we can and give them individual catalogue numbers. And they can be found through searching the online catalogue. There's also a parish register list online, giving the date coverage of the registers held for each parish and which archive office they are held in. This is a research guide found on a link on the research guide's web page that we have on our website, and I will send you a link to that. It's the parish register list is updated regularly for Devon Heritage Centre and North Devon Record Office. And even though it includes Plymouth archive registers as well, these haven't been updated on our website for some time. You do really have to contact Plymouth Archives for their full coverage of their parish registers these days. Parish records other than registers were not generally filmed and were not digitised, so they're not available online. But parish registers used to be filmed and made available on fiche, and they're still available in the archive office, in each archive office. In fact, they were copied so that each office held microfilmed copies of all of the registers that have been filmed for the whole of Devon. So those in North Devon covered what we held as well and what Plymouth held. When digitising was introduced, microfilming was discontinued, and the Devon parish registers were then digitised through a project. Those registers in our two offices dating up to 1915 were digitised and became searchable online in 2014 and 2015 on the Find My Past subscription website. Now, as Janet Few mentioned, there are some which weren't able to be digitised because we lacked the permission, and therefore later on they were digitised by the Devon Family History Society and appear on their members' website instead. Okay, more details of this project and the details of the registers included on Find My Past are found in the guide written some years ago called Parish Registers Available Online, and that's one of our research guides as well. Right. I think I'm running out of time.
I think you probably are.
Yes, I didn't get much time. Okay, right. Well, the other information will have to come via the handout. Okay.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. That's given me a much better idea of what I can find where. Thank you.
Yes, yes. Sorry, it wasn't more complete.
I'd now like to welcome Rachel Ponting. Rachel is the Devon Archives and Local Studies Services Specialist Archive Researcher based at the Devon Heritage Centre in Exeter. Welcome.
Thank you. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the research service that we offer in Devon. If you submit a research request, it's likely to come to me. So I'll just talk a little bit. I'll start with the basics of what we do and don't do as part of the research service. So as you would expect, a lot of what we do is family history, but we do also get requests concerning house history, all sorts of aspects of local history. We deal with professional inquiries as well, legal and academic inquiries. And we do also deal with subject access requests. So if you want to, for example, order a record that relates to yourself, such as from a school record, if it's a closed record under data protection legislation, we can, if you are the subject, still provide you with that information from that closed record. And that is a subject access request, and we deal with those. A couple of things that the service doesn't do. Generally, we don't do Latin translation, although we do have someone that can occasionally undertake that kind of work, who isn't employed by us, but does sometimes have capacity for that kind of work. We don't undertake research in other repositories for you. And we can't always guarantee that we're going to find what you're looking for. We do our best. So as far as family history goes, you might want to use the research service if you can't get to us in person and you want to go kind of beyond what you can find online, beyond the parish registers, because there are plenty of other records that may hold information about your family. So just as an example of the kinds of records that we fairly frequently use or consult for the research service, other parish records such as overseers records, poor rate books or apprenticeship records, that kind of thing. Quarter sessions records, which can kind of turn up some very interesting items. And some of that is searchable on our catalogue because they are currently in the process of being catalogued. So it's always worth putting a name into the online catalogue. You might find a quarter sessions record referred to there. Poor law union records, asylum, deeds, manorial records, so records coming out of the functions of manorial courts, which can include rental surveys and that kind of thing. And the research service also frequently refers to material in the West Country Studies Library, secondary sources. So the degree to which collections are catalogued or indexed obviously varies. You may put a name, a family name, into the catalogue and not find anything, but that doesn't mean there isn't anything there relating to your family. So, for example, you know, if you suspect that an ancestor was in the workhouse, we do have poor law union minute books. Obviously, the catalogue isn't going to give the name of everyone that appears in that book, but we can search that for you. They're not always indexed, so that can be quite a long search, and that's just something to bear in mind if you are ordering research from us. It can take longer than you might expect. It's always worth having a look at our online catalogues before getting in touch, just to see what you find yourself. And you are always very welcome to email us in advance of sending a research request if you feel that you're not quite sure what records might be useful to you. So as well as family history, we do deal with house history. And this may just be something that you want to research because you're interested in the building that you live in, if you're a Devon resident, or because you have a particular interest in the occupants of a particular property. So it just may be that you're interested for general interest, but we do also deal with specific inquiries as well relating to properties where people need information for a particular purpose. So it may be to do with kind of access rights over a particular piece of land, or for example, recently we dealt with something for someone who was selling their house, and they needed to try and pin down more accurately the date of the build of their house. Boundary disputes is one that comes up sometimes. All of those things, I have to say, there's no guarantee that we would find an answer. It obviously depends hugely kind of what survives in the records. So there are certain questions that come up quite frequently in terms of house history. People want specifics, obviously, that's what people are interested in. So when was my house built, who built it, and can I see architect's plans for my house? Again, these are questions that aren't necessarily easy to answer, and we can have a look and see what we hold, see if there are records that are going to help us answer those questions. We can never guarantee it, but particularly with house history, the planning system as we know it kind of came about in the 20th century, really. So there aren't planning records going back centuries. Deeds are not required to be deposited with us. They come into us in kind of an ad hoc way often. So they might come in as part of like a family history collection or a solicitor's collection. So we don't necessarily have deeds relating to every property. But again, a lot are catalogued on our online catalogue, so it's always worth having a look there first. And going back to planning records, they haven't all kind of comprehensively, those that we do have 20th century planning records, they haven't comprehensively been deposited with us, because often district councils, they might give us kind of sets of planning minutes and that kind of thing, but actual plans for buildings don't often survive because they were often weeded out of collections for space saving reasons before they were even deposited with us. But having said that, there are certain sections, I'm thinking particularly of Torquay, I think we have, there are plans in some of the Torquay planning records, but not for every property. So that's kind of a hit and miss thing, and it's always worth contacting us if it's something you are trying to find out about. But there's a whole range of records that can be searched for house history, again, kind of depending on kind of what era, what period you're interested in, but things like censuses, we have ordnance survey and earlier maps, deeds, sales particulars, some planning records if you get lucky, things like parish taxes and rates. Sometimes we'll give kind of a name of a property as well as the name of the person who's paying it. Valuation office records, newspapers, occasionally trade directories might mention a significant property, or county histories. So there's quite a variety of records that our service can search for you. And I should say, actually, technically, it's not just house history. You know, I've kind of done history researches for relating to schools, churches, pubs. And I know a few people mentioned in the chat as well about farm history. And so it's always worth looking on the catalogue. But if you can't find something there, then, you know, you can email us, and there might be something in those kind of records that I've just listed that might be useful to you, or that we can research for you. So as well as family and house history, really, we're kind of happy if we can, and if we have records relating to it, to research any kind of aspect of local history that might be of interest to you. And these are just 3 examples that I've listed of things that have been done recently. So I did research into a parish Sunday school, which included a knitting school, where I assume the young children were being taught to knit, and they were selling things that they were knitting. And then field name research. So someone had looked at a 17th century map and all the field names, and they wanted research into the origins of the names. And so I used a variety of secondary sources, including kind of place name, surname, and Devon dialect resources to research that. And then one from a church, which was really to kind of verify the accuracy of the information that they had on a plaque on the wall, which meant going into some quite early records and looking at early bishops' registers and so on. So it can be really varied. And yes, if we have records that we can search, then we will. And we do also undertake transcription work. So they don't necessarily have to be documents from our own collection either. So we have recently done transcription of a couple of documents that someone had brought in that related to a property in Devon, which we transcribed for them. But as I mentioned earlier, although we do transcription, we don't generally undertake Latin translation. How to access the service. This is our homepage on the South West Heritage Trust website, and you can see the grey tabs across the top. So if you go to the one that says services, and there's a drop down menu, and you can select research and copying from there, and that takes you to this page. This isn't the full page, this is just the first bit of text. And you can see the blue link at the bottom there, which says research service leaflet and request form. So that's where you can download the order form. And I should actually just say that grey box that says we're experiencing very high demand, it does really, really vary. And although it says there that it could take around 8 to 10 weeks to complete, that's actually really unusual, and it's much more likely to be 2 or 3 weeks. So that's how to access the service. And in terms of kind of practicalities relating to the service, so we charge according to the time taken, and that relates to both research and digital copying. And the charge is £40 per hour, which is charged in 15-minute increments with a minimum charge of £20. The charge is made according to the time spent on the research, not whether or not we find a result that you're looking for. And we do ask that people complete the order form rather than just putting the request in the body of an email, because there's important information there on the form relating to data protection and copyright that needs to be kind of acknowledged and signed. And try to be as specific as possible on your order form about what it is that you're trying to find. In terms of kind of places, names, dates. We do sometimes get some very, very vague requests just saying, you know, I'm trying to find out about the Kelland family in North Devon or something like that, you know, and so it's really helpful if you can kind of narrow it down to a place or, you know, parish or period of time at least. And I appreciate sometimes the reason you're using the research service is because you don't necessarily have a lot of detail, but give as much as you can. And as I say, if you're not sure kind of how to proceed, you're very welcome to email us in advance of sending the form if you want to kind of discuss what records might be most suitable to your inquiry. And then once you've sent the form to us, we will provide a quote before commencing the work and send an invoice so that payment is made in advance. And you can find more information about the research and copying service on the link there on that slide. I've really whizzed through that. I'm not sure. I was trying to keep it within the 10 minutes or so, but I think I may have been quicker. So I'm done.
Thank you very much, and it's very kind of you to try and keep to time. I appreciate it. Yes, if you can take your presentation down. I'd like to welcome our next speaker, Alan Barclay. Alan is a collections assistant at the Box in Plymouth. He has over 40 years experience in working in archives in the UK and overseas. Welcome, Alan.
Good afternoon. I'd like to start by thanking those from the Devon archives, because you've saved me quite a bit of time in describing the different types of records that we have here in Plymouth, because the types of records they've been talking about are virtually identical to what we have here. I'm going to talk a little bit about the collections that we have here and perhaps some of the things that we do slightly differently here in Plymouth than they do up in Exeter. So I'm going to start with what is the Box. Everybody loves the name The Box. Where did that come from? Well, this slide shows it quite well. I'm basically one of the final remaining member of staff from the former Plymouth and West Devon Record Office. My colleagues have either moved on or have retired over the years. And basically, 5 years ago, we brought our collections from the building that some of you may have visited us in, Clare Place down in Coxside, here up to the brand new £42 million building that is the Box in Plymouth. We are very much a hybrid organisation, so we're no longer just an archive, we're a museum, we're a gallery, we're many other things as well. And the idea is that we now, as well as being an archive service, we can also contribute into what's happening within the Box. We can fit into the Box's aims, missions and values. And I love our new slogan, if you like, which is to be locally loved and nationally known. And so I'm going to be talking a little bit about that today. So the main space that we have on the first floor of the Box, oh dear, bear with me, I've got some problems. There we go, is the Cottonian Research Room, and that's based on the first floor of the Box. It operates slightly different times from the rest of the building. And we are, let me move on to the next one. There we are. So we're in the Box. We're in Tavistock Place in Plymouth. We're on the first floor in the Cottonian Research Room. Our hours are changing from the 1st of November. We're going to be offering Tuesdays to Thursdays from 10 till 1 and then from 1:30 to 4:30. Our Fridays will remain the same at 1:30 to 4:30 on a Friday afternoon, and we offer one Saturday research session per month. That's normally on the first Saturday of the month, but not always because things like bank holidays get in the way. But normally there's one Saturday session offered per month. Advanced booking with us is advised. We have a maximum of 12 spaces available here, and you can contact us by phone or by email. As I say, we've been open now for roughly 5 years in this building. We opened right before the pandemic, and I remember us being open for about 6-8 weeks, and then we shut down for almost 12 months. So all of our plans that we had for the grand opening just didn't happen. And so we've been celebrating those quite recently because we had our 5th birthday party, and that was really nice. So we're slightly different in that the research room here at the box, we are looking after a number of different organisations which became part of the box, and we are the research space for all of those different collections. So the main one that most people doing family history be aware of is Plymouth Archives, what was the former Plymouth and West Devon Record Office. We also now have the Southwest Film and Television Archives, which is an organisation that basically covered. It's the largest, is the largest regional film archive in England, and it is supported by the British Film Institute. We also have another local collection here, which was the Southwest Image Bank, which was established in Plymouth many years ago and has many millions of photographs in its collections. We also took on board elements of the Plymouth Local Studies Library, and I'll explain a little bit about that more later. And we also have the Plymouth City Museum and Art Gallery collections, including the designated Cottonian collection, which is actually now housed here in the research room as well. So that's the sort of makeup that we are here. I'm not really going to go much into it, but as other people have mentioned, we have many different types of records here, which are of use for family history, including parish registers, wills, property, taxation records. Popular ones tend to be school, hospital, workhouse, and coroner's records. Unfortunately, within Plymouth, all of the former 3 workhouses registers are deemed to have been destroyed. However, it is rather nice as time has gone on that a number of later registers have come out of closure, and we're currently working on indexing 3 Plymouth workhouse registers, which date from 1916 to 1923. And they're pretty much the only workhouse registers we have, other than a few for Plimpton. The other major thing that we've been working on in terms of family history and indexing are registers of Devonport Hospital, 2 rather large volumes covering 1904 to 1923, and they're yielding about 80,000 entries of indexed names per register. So quite a lot of work going on behind the scenes on making records available. I mentioned briefly earlier about images. We have in excess of 2 million images within the collections here. And I checked this morning, and there's just over 45,000 of them that you can view on our online catalogue. The main collections being the Western Morning News photographic glass plate negatives, which came into us from 1941. Unfortunately, those that predate 1941 were destroyed when the building took a direct hit. We also have images from the Plymouth Barbican Trust and, as I mentioned earlier, the Southwest Image Bank. All of those collections can be accessed here in the research room, and they're also available for copying through our dedicated image and film service, which I've put the link to just there. One of the other major areas that we have that people are increasingly becoming interested in, people now look at other sources for family history, and that is our film and television collections. And the main ones that we have here are those for Westward TV and TSW, which cover the period of 1961 to 1992. And many of our films and videos are being digitized. A lot are already digitized. Some of them you can view for free on the BFI player, which you can view at home. Others are being added to a second site, which is called BFI Replay. And BFI Replay can be accessed in local libraries and also here in the Cottonian Research Room. So we're increasingly finding that a lot of people who are doing history, especially local and community and family history, as I say, are now looking at these collections to basically find film footage of their ancestors. As I say, we have some dedicated computer terminals here in the room, which can be used to look at, as I say. We also have a catalogue for our film and video collections that are here as well, and that's available in-house. It's not online at the moment. And for image and film inquiries, we do offer 1 hour of free research assistance per inquiry. As I say, that is for image and film inquiries only. We don't undertake research in-house. There are a number of local researchers based here in Plymouth, and we would normally refer you to one of those if you were looking to have research undertaken but weren't able to visit us. My favourite thing about family history is something that we've been doing over the last, I've pretty much been involved with it over the last 20 years, and that's what we call our All Search project. It's still going strong 20 years later. We started it all that time ago in partnership with the Devon Family History Society and Ford Park Cemetery Trust. The project continues. It's mainly staffed by box volunteers. So we have a number of volunteers within the box. Some are gallery guides, but increasingly large numbers of volunteers who now work on projects behind the scenes. And one of those is our parish register indexing project. We are focusing on records which are not available on Find My Past or Ancestry, which means that their focus area is basically 1925 to the present day. We have at the moment about 1.4 million entries on our database of records which are not available online. And we've got roughly about 100,000 more still to be added into that database. As of basically today, we have 100% of our marriage registers of all dates have been indexed. We've got 95% of our baptism registers completed. And when we finish those, we're going to tackle the 70% of our burial registers, which we have, which aren't yet indexed. But we've got a very enthusiastic team of volunteers, and they're doing the work to a very high standard, and we hope to have a lot of those more available on our database very soon. We don't have the database online. It is only available here in the research room. And that's pretty much all I've got to talk about, really. That's our contact details. You can contact us by telephone or by email. We did have a booking system online, especially during the pandemic. Nobody liked it. We've got rid of it, so we've gone back to, you can contact us by email or phone. and we also have the link there to our online catalogue. And that pretty much is me finished.
Thank you very much, Alan. What a beautiful looking building you've got there. It looks absolutely stunning. Our last speaker is Dr. Paula Orcott, who is a Senior Researcher Associate at the University of Portsmouth and contributor to the local history website, A Vision of Britain Through Time. Welcome, Paula.
Thank you, and hello, everybody. So I'm going to talk to you about our website, which is a bit more general than what you've been hearing about before. It's designed to give you information about the places that your ancestors lived. It's not about individual people. We don't have any information about people, buildings, streets. We only go down as far as parishes. So we're very much about the area that the people in the past lived in. So you can search our website by using a place name or a postcode. And what we give you back is a collection of different information. So old maps, descriptions from the past, and statistics. So this is our new homepage. Right in the middle, there's a big search box where you can type in the place of the name of the place that you're interested in. In the top right-hand corner of every page on our site, there is now a search box. So if you wanted to change your mind and look at a different place, you can just type your place name in there and it will work. So for the purposes of today, I'm going to use Totnes as my example. So I've typed in Totnes into the homepage and I've got 2 hits back. This will give you an idea of where in the country the place name is. So we might have lots of different places. If you chose Sutton, there are a lot of Suttons, there's over 40 of them. At Totnes, we've just got 2, and I'm going to go with the first one, which is the town that we're interested in. And this, I clicked on that, and this takes me to the homepage for the place. If there was only a single place with the name that you're interested in, it will take you directly to this page. You won't go to the results page that you've just seen. So the idea is this works in 2 ways. It gives you information immediately, and then also it works as a stepping stone to other information in our website. As you can see, there's an outline map and an indicator of where in the country the place you're interested in is. And underneath, there's a description from a historical gazetteer. To read that, if you click on the further information, it will expand and show you the entirety of that entry. Once you've read that, you might be interested to know what else we have about Totnes. So if you go to the historical writing button on the top left, it will take you through to the other information we have from historical gazetteers. We've got 2 gazetteers, the Imperial Gazetteer and Bartholomew's Gazetteer, both from the late 19th century, and you can read descriptions about the place in that. We've got information about locations associated with Totnes. In this case, it's the hamlet of Collerton. And at the bottom, we've got descriptions from people writing about the British Isles as they've travelled around the country. They're ordered with the most references at the top. So in this case, we've got William Camden, who didn't actually travel around. He wrote descriptions of counties in the early 17th century. So if you click on that link for Cornwall and Devon from William Camden, it takes you directly to his first reference to Totnes. As you can see, all of the place names are marked in blue, and that's because they're all linked into our system. So if you clicked on Totnes, it will take you back to the place page for Totnes. If you clicked on the link for Exeter, it will take you to the place page for Exeter. And also you'll see there's a little map down on the right hand side, and that is all the places that Camden references in this section of his writing. So going back to the place page, you can also look at our collection of historical maps. If you click on the button, it will take you to our map collection. The map is centered on the place that you're interested in. So as you can see, Totnes is right in the middle. The map window does increase in size, and you can pan and zoom the map. Underneath, there is a listing of map sheets. These are the maps that we hold, or the scans that we hold. And as you pan and zoom the map, the list underneath will update. So it'll always show you the maps that we have that are closest in scale and area to what you're seeing in the map window. So if you click on the map sheet link at the bottom, it will open up into a view of that map sheet, and you can see the information that's around the edge. You can zoom and pan it. And this is about the level of detail, the most detailed map that we hold. We don't have very detailed street plans, but it's just the idea is to give you an idea of what the place was like. What else do we have? We have related websites. So these are actually links to other websites that cover the whole country, like ours does. And if you click on one of these links, it will take you directly to the page on that website about the place that you're interested in. So in this case, if I clicked on the top one, the history of the workhouse, it would take me to the information about the workhouses that were related to Totnes. And the same is true for all of the other links. The locations nearby tab takes you to websites that are slightly more general. So for example, National Library of Scotland Maps website, or Geograph, which has lots of photographs in. The other information we have is statistics, and we present them in two ways. Firstly, we have Totnes through time. So if I click on this link at the bottom, it takes me through to the information about the modern local authority. Now, in this case, Totnes is in South Hams district. As you can see, we've got the outline map on the right with the indicator. You've also got the statistical themes for which we have information about South Hams district. Underneath, we've got the information we also hold about the district. So any alternate names we know, relationships to other administrative units, boundary as a little boundary map, and any changes that we know about. And then more general links at the bottom to the scanned maps again and to census reports. So to go into one of the statistics, we're going to look at life and death statistics. So most of our information comes from the censuses, but we also have information from other places like the Register General's annual reports, and this is where this information has come from. And today we're going to look at total births as an example. And you can see we've got a graph there, which goes from 1861 through to 2021 and shows the birth rate going through time. Now, obviously, South Hams district has not existed since 1861. This information is based on estimates, good estimates, but estimates nonetheless, so that it gives you an idea of the change through time. You might also want to see the original information. So for that, from the place page, you go to the units and statistics page button. And you'll see there's a list of lots of different kinds of administrative units. Anything that has an extended tag next to it means that we have information going back through time in the same way that you've just seen the South Hams district, and you can see that on the list. We also have information for the County of Devon, the government region, and England. We also now have information about the wards. That's a much shorter period going back through time. Most it goes to 1971, but this is a new thing that we've introduced. Underneath that, you'll see there are lots of other different administrative units, and these are all the historical administrative units that existed in the past. So to take two examples, we've got the registration district, and the information from this goes from 1851 through to 1911, and we have all the numbers, and you can see there's a chart, there's a table, and I've just put the map on the right hand side so you get an idea of the area that this registration district is covering. Now that's not massively different from the from the modern local authority district that we looked at earlier, but coming into the 20th century, we've got Totnes is covered by the municipal borough, which is much smaller if you see the map, it's just the area around the town of Totnes. But again, we've got the total birth population, and this is why we have both the historical information and a presentation through times, because obviously the changing boundaries and areas make it quite difficult to understand. And this is why we give you two different ways to look at the information. Of course, this website covers the whole country, so it's not just Totnes, it's everywhere. So that's all I've got to say for today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. A very different way of looking at what we've been talking about. Thank you very much.
Yes, if Heather could remind me of the question.
Right, the question was, interested to find out records of a fisherman who drowned in Seaton in the late 1700s.
Oh, yes. Well, the problem with drowning is if there is no body, if the body is not recovered, then there won't be a burial record. And obviously, at a later date, if there's death certificates, there won't be a death certificate either until comparatively recently. What you might find, there's a couple of things you might find. One is mentioned on a gravestone. And although late 1700s is a little bit early for this, in the interests of others who might have drownings later in history, because obviously with two coastlines, that tends to happen quite a bit in Devon, the things you might try is some kind of newspaper report, particularly if it's a fishing tragedy when maybe half a dozen boats have gone down once in a storm. Quite often the communities had fundraising efforts in order to support the families. So those are sometimes reported. And from 1839, you've got the Shipwreck Mariners Association, which did actually evolve out of a shipwreck the previous year in Bideford Bay. And they may have records of who they've supported as well. But unfortunately, late 1700s is just a little bit early for a lot of that information. But that will explain, of course, why you perhaps haven't got a burial.